Okay, today we are going to cover inventory reconciliation, and that is when you've received merchandise, you've received the invoice from the vendor, and now you're going to match it up against your receiving to make sure that the quantities and the costs are correct. So we do that by going to the invoice or the AP invoice reconciliation screen, which is I-150. And this is the screen you're going to get. And we're going to do three different examples for you. The first one is going to be where everything kind of works out. And so we're going to click first on New Invoice. First thing you're going to do is you're going to tell it which vendor you're receiving for and the invoice number, the vendor's invoice number. So now we will have that invoice number in Infinity and can keep record of it for you. When I accept that, it's going to bring me to this screen, and I'm going to give it the invoice date. We'll say it's today. You don't need to add anything in terms unless you want to. It's not going to do anything. It's for your record. And then what we're going to do is we are going to enter the invoice totals from the vendor. Remember, we are comparing the invoice to the receiver, what you've actually received, not necessarily the purchase order, what you've actually received and the vendor's invoice. So this top box here, we're going to enter the total of the invoice, what they say we should actually be paying them, 25. And below are going to be the different parts of what makes that up. So the first part is just the total merchandise cost. And sometimes that will be all that you will have. You won't have any other things, but sometimes you may have a discount and freight. And there could be, let's say, a miscellaneous fee on there too. And so all of these should add up to that. If not, once we try to accept it, it will let us know. I want to point one thing out here is all of these miscellaneous costs and discounts obviously have to be allocated to the merchandise. And so Infinity will do that in one of two ways. It could be based on the cost of each piece of merchandise, or it could be based on the cubes of each piece of merchandise. This one is set up to do it based on inventory cost. I will warn you that if you're going to do it on cubes, you need to have the cubes in all your SKUs. Otherwise, it will stop you because it will not know how to allocate that merchandise. Okay, so once we have this filled in, and by the way, those allocation methods, you will have a default, so you won't have to choose every time. So now we're going to enter the receipt number that it was received on. And as you know, probably by now, the receipt number in Infinity is the purchase order number followed by a 2 digits, the 2 digits being will make up the full receipt number, and the 2 digits represent which time the purchase order was received. So for example, 00 will be the first time it was received. If there was a second receipt on that, it will be 01, then 02, and so on. In this select column here, you will choose the Y in most cases. There is an O here for override, and that's for cases where you may have been had two invoices to the same receipt number. And so when you try to enter that second one, Infinity is going to say that it looks like you've already received that receipt number, and so you will need to do an override to be able to add that second one. Okay, so if we did everything right, when I click OK Save, it's going to take us to this page here. And you can see on this page, it's giving you some information on the invoice here. And down here are the dollars that we have entered for that invoice on the previous page. And what you want to pay particular attention to is this green bar across here, right? So here's what we told it that the vendor is invoicing us. Here's what the system computed that it should have been based on, you see the line items down here of what was received? And this is picked, and again, this is from when the merchandise was received. Our warehouse said we got 4 of the first item and 4 of the second, and these were the costs that were from the purchase order. And so it's saying that it computed based on that we received $2,200 of merchandise, and that's what again, that's what was on the invoice. So we're matching. So there's no difference showing here. You would see a difference here, and you would have to do something to clear that difference if that happened. And you will see that on the next couple of examples that we do. So it's all good. Everything is here. So if everything matches up, we just need to click down here to say complete the reconciliation. And it's going to show you a little summary screen here. Down here, if you're going to do these in batches and you want some to have the same batch numbers, you can do that. And so once we are done and we're all in agreement, we're going to say complete. And the posting has been requested, and we are now done with that one. Now, I will say that if you are going to go out there and go and go look at those SKUs and see if that new tier of costs is showing already, it's not going to be there. All the posting on these are going to be done in the evening, as we don't want to do it during the day when there's activity going on. We don't want to be affecting the inventory. So it will be held until the evening. If you check it the next day, it should all be there. Okay? So that was that one. We're going to do the second one now. And in this one, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to the invoice. Oops. Let it know who it is. Put in the receipt number, the invoice number, I should say. Go to the same screen as we went to before. This time we're not going to have any other expenses other than the other than the merchandise. So let's say that the merchandise is $2,200, and so the total will also be $2,200. Let's enter the receipt number, which is going to be 71802. I'm going to say yes. And whoops, 71802. Right? So when we click this, we take a look here, and now you can see that there is a difference of $300. So The vendor is billing us $2,200. However, Infinity computed that we only received $1,900. Down here, you can see where the Infinity calculation was done, and you can't see it here. But if you were to see the invoice from the vendor said, "Well, we shipped you 4 of these. We're billing you for 4 of these, but we only received 3." So we are going to have to make a correction there, and what we're going to do it here is, well, we know that we were correct here. Obviously, you're probably going to call the warehouse and say, make sure that you only received 3 because we're being billed for 4. So once they confirm that, you're going to change this and say, we only received 3, so we're only paying you $1,900. And as you can see here, the difference has now been cleared. And we are then going to go down here, and just like the first one, we're going to complete the reconciliation. What's off? Okay, I see what I did. I forgot to also change the total on here. And so now we should match all the way across. And so let's complete the reconciliation. We're okay here. And we say complete. Posting has been requested. And again, that will post in the evening. Okay. Let's go back and do the last invoice. We're going to click New Invoice, same vendor. Continue. And this time, we are going to do a case where we are being charged. All right, so we're going to be, we're going to say, well, let's put the date in first, the 12th. And we're going to say that the vendor said that this is $22.40 we are being charged, all in merchandise. Enter the receipt number, 78230. Again, click the yes here, and you can see here there's now a difference of $40. And if we were to check the invoice, well, the difference is the vendor is saying $22.40. We calculated $2,200 from here. But when we actually checked the invoice, we noticed that instead of $250, the vendor charged us $260 on these, which is fine. We can change it in one of 2 places. We can either change, like we did the last time, we can change this number to match if the vendor was correct, but I'm sorry, to match if we were correct. We can change it to $2,200, and that's what we would reconcile and pay. Or, once we check with the buyer says, oh, my mistake. They told me it had increased to $260, so we can change it here. And now there is no difference on that top line. We match both places. It is telling us that there was a difference, that we are paying a difference from what we originally said. But remember, this green line is the one that you really want to pay attention to. We are paying $40 more, but we know that it was our fault. So it's an acceptable difference. So now, if we complete the reconciliation and click complete again, posting has been requested. and that's going to do it. So we showed a invoice that had freight and discount and fee, everything matched. We were able to go. We showed you one where there was a difference in the quantity, and we showed you one where there was a difference in the cost. So, once you clear and accept all these, they will give you your inventory FIFO layers and let you go on. And that is it.